we must have a dialogue with the North. But we tried a dialogue, and it was not effective. And it was not effective because the South is not organized. You understand? You see, if you deal with an empire deals with unorganized clans, how can you stand? Haiwezekani. Little clans, unorganized, and you are confronted with an empire, you will collapse. Now, the North is very well organized. The South, clans. Yeah. Your president has discovered what I discovered ages ago. And Mr. President, once you discover that, you see, and you take your chalk, and your green board, and you begin to tell these people the facts of life, you have a chance. I must congratulate you, Mr. President. I listened to television yesterday when you were talking to your colleagues about the imbalances. The imbalances. And I do congratulate you, because we must know what is going on. We have to know what is going on. And if you have a head of state taking a piece of chalk and a blackboard, was it black or yellow? It was great. A head of state taking a piece of chalk, explaining to his leaders the problems of the simple economics of the modern life, that country has a future. Because some of the so-called leaders of the South, they keep their people in ignorance in order that you can exploit them better. So I say, we buy dear always from the North, and we sell cheap always to the North. That imbalance is inevitable. Lazima. You will have that imbalance. What kind of business is that? If I do business with Abu Mayanja there, he buys from me cotton, and I buy from him whatever it is, chicken or what? Sisal. But he determines the price of the sisal which he sells to me. So he fixes that price of the sisal which he sells to me. But he also fixes the price of the cotton which he buys from me. Well, unless he's a god or an angel, I'm in trouble. Because he will raise the price of the sisal he sells and keep down the price of the cotton he buys from me. Inevitable. He must do that. And this is what is happening, not this imaginary thing. Abu has no sisal to sell to me, and I have no cotton to sell to him. But this is what is happening on the global basis. It is an unfair system, that system. So that system, the way it is organized by the North, run by the North, for the North. The way it is organized, that system always takes money from the South to the North. Transfers, it transfers resources, transfers wealth from the South to the North. I'll give you a small example. Tanzania, 2 years ago, we began pushing up the production of cotton again. So 1986, 87, no, 85, 87, 85, 86, we doubled our production of cotton. And we thought, because one of our problems is the foreign exchange, and cotton is a big foreign exchange earner for Tanzania. So we doubled the price, the cotton production. And we thought, And I tell you, I listen to the prices every morning. And one morning, the price was 68 American cents to the pound. 68 American cents to the pound of cotton. I thought, fine, if it can go on like that. The next morning, it is 34, exactly half. 34 American cents to the pound. But it is not so. We would get less money. Why? Because we have spent a lot more foreign exchange to double the production. In order to double that production, we have used more fertilizer from the north, more insecticides from the north. We have to move it on trucks. So we have more trucks to move it from the north. So we have spent more money in order to produce that amount of cotton. But we get exactly the same amount as we got last year on half the crop. Sasa kuna mtu ametuibia. There is somebody in the north who had robbed of my country. Half of its cotton production was stolen by somebody in the north. Sasa, that is the system. And if that system is not changed, if God Almighty handed over that system to some angels to run it without changing it, itaendelea vile vile. So you have to change that system. The system is wrong. It is a system organized for robbery. And robbery by the rich robbing the poor. And it is totally wrong. And it is known it is wrong, because it's as simple as that. You can explain it to any intelligent person in the north, and he knows this system is wrong. A system that transfers wealth from poor people to the rich people automatically is wrong. It must be changed. We can't live with a system like that. So in the 70s, non-aligned countries and countries which were not non-aligned began to talk about establishing a new international economic order. A new international economic order. Change this unfair system of the world. Have some system which is fair. So that if peasants work, if a peasant has doubled his crop of cotton, well, let him get his crop of cotton. If he has doubled his coffee, let him get his coffee. So we began to talk about changing the international system as it is now and have a new international economic order. And we talked about calling for what we call global negotiations altogether, because it affects everybody, so altogether we should sit down in international negotiations and discuss how to change the system. I attended one of the meetings, a preliminary meeting. It was intended to be a preliminary meeting to change, to agree to talks, global talks, to change the international system. I did attend one of the preliminary meeting. A meeting was called in a place in Mexico called Cancun in Mexico at the beginning of 1981. A few of us from the south were there, and of course our northern friends were there. And we discussed these problems. And my friend Reagan from the United States, I think he looked at us and thought all of us were being very foolish, thinking that there was anything wrong to be reformed. They had come into power. Reagan had just come into power. Margaret Thatcher had also just come into power. And they'd come in power. They have discovered a solution. And the solution is private enterprise. Let everybody free enterprise, open market. And the problems of the world will be solved. But of course it is true. Their problems will be solved. Because they'll continue stealing from us. But an open market like that, without rules, how could it be? And these people who are talking about just leave it free, and that a liberal system, an open market system is going to change to begin to change the system and get the poor, the peasants of the world, to get their fair share of what the wealth they produce. The same people spend billions of dollars. The Americans spend billions of dollars supporting the American farmer, not through the open market, not through free market. The free market, the American producer of maize or wheat or soya beans in the open market will not be getting that price he's getting now. He's getting that price through a government subsidy, a huge government subsidy. Because the government of the United States realizes if they don't do that, the farmer of the United States will not get a share, a sufficient share of the economy of that country. So the government has to interfere and actually give him money. So it is not a free market. The government, even the government of a conservative government, even a conservative administration like that of Reagan, has to do something in order to see that the American farmer, you can't leave the farmer on his own, including an American farmer, to compete with an industrialist, in spite of the fact that a farmer in the United States is almost an industrialist on his own. But he can't compete with the producers of trucks and on all these others. So the government does something about it. So in a country, within one country, the government has to do something to distribute wealth. And the Europeans do it. And in that meeting in Cancun, Reagan was there, Margaret Thatcher was there, Mitterrand were there. And I did ask them, you people, you don't subsidize your own farming in your own countries? Of course they subsidize farming. They have to. However much they believe in the free market, they must subsidize their farmers. And they subsidize inefficient farmers. So I said, we tried to change that system, we couldn't succeed. And Reagan said, no, we can't change the system. Basi. So we left Cancun. Because, one powerful person had said no. So we go on. So we go on selling cotton cheap. The Americans buying it cheap and selling to us their goods more expensive. So people in the South begin to say, what do we do? Shall we do nothing about it? Should we just do nothing about it? Because Reagan has spoken, the Roman Catholic Church has a phrase they use. Roma locuta, causa finita. I think they say that. Rome has spoken. When the Roman Catholic Church is run by the Vatican, and they say Rome has spoken, everything has ended. No more debate. Rome has spoken, no more debate. Roma locuta, causa finita. Yes. So shall we really say Reagan locuta causa finita? We can't say it. Really, how can we say it? So we've got to do something. So lots of people in the South say, let's do something. Hence the idea of the commission. The idea of the commission. Let's put our heads together, a few of us, put our heads together and see what the South can do in two directions. One, what the South can do in order to increase cooperation amongst themselves. How we can maximize our own possibilities of development among the South. And we believe we can do a lot more to increase cooperation among southern countries. I've been discussing with a comrade president here, and when we talk about the South increasing cooperation among themselves, this is at different levels, at very different, many levels of development, including Uganda, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Tanzania, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, and so forth. Two countries in the South. See how you can maximize self-reliance. See how Uganda can maximize national self-reliance within Uganda. Maximum. Don't go outside of Uganda for what can be done in Uganda. Maximize your own self-reliance. But also maximize your collective self-reliance. See what Uganda and Tanzania can do maximally. What Uganda and Kenya can do maximally. So we advocate this. The South is going to be advocating this. How we can do to maximize our own self-reliance internally and collectively at different levels. See what I saw here. You import trucks from India. Very good. I mean, why should all the trucks here come from the north? India produces trucks, very good trucks. So maximize your cooperation with India. That we advocate. Maximize your cooperation with Brazil, with Argentina. That we advocate. And also at the global level, there is a group of countries called 77. They're not 77, but we still call it the group of 77. But there are now 127 or 128 countries. Maximize cooperation there. These countries, they want cooperation, but we are not organized enough. So the purpose of the commission is to think how the South can act together in two directions. One, cooperation among the South. But the North is there. Whether Reagan is there until January next year, he will go. But the United States will remain, and the United States is a powerful country. Whoever is the president of that country is powerful, and a powerful leader of the North. And they'll make decisions which will affect our lives. So we must continue a dialogue with the North to change the system of trade, finance, so that trade is not simply a transfer of money from the South to the North. And finance is not simply a transfer of money, as it is now, from the South to the North. So we must have a dialogue with the North. But we tried a dialogue, and it was not effective. And it was not effective because the South is not organized. You understand? You see, if you deal with an empire deals with unorganized clans, how can you stand? Haiwezekani. Little clans, unorganized, and you are confronted with an empire, you will collapse. Now, the North is very well organized. The South, clans. Yeah. I mean, almost in the form of clans. Your president has discovered what I discovered ages ago. That these countries are not independent. These countries are not independent. Your president has discovered that. And Mr. President, once you discover that, you see, and you take your chalk and your green board and you begin to tell these people the facts of life, you have a chance. These countries are not independent. They have presidents. I was one of them. And whenever I traveled in the world, I used to get a 21-gun salute like Reagan. These countries are not independent. They'll have to fight for true independence. And independence will not just come Independence doesn't come like rain, you know. Huh? Bure. Independence is a fruit of struggle. It can't just come. Even this independence we have, which I disparage, is we struggle, you know. I mean, it's, I say we are not independent in the sense that we must maximize our independence. We are independent, you know, but we are neo-colonial. We had to organize ourselves for for political independence. Now we have to organize ourselves for economic independence. We have to, but we're not organized. So, in order that the southern countries can have some influence, some influence on the north, so that the north can take the south seriously and begin to change the trading system and the financial system, so that the relations between north and south are not relations of transfer of resources all the time from the south to the north. If you talk about trade, it is a transfer of resources from the south to the north. If you talk about borrowing money, if you borrow money now in the north, this is a trap. You put yourself in a trap, yeah? And more money now will flow. Through that loan, more money will flow from the south to the north. Technology. If you simply say, you know, a technology discussion between south and north is a transfer of resources all the time. So we must sit down with the north and discuss how to change the situation so that there is a fair relationship. So our relation between north and south is one of fairness, not one of exploitation. But you're not going to do it without organizing yourself. So one of the purposes, the second purpose of the commission is how we can build a little more solidarity amongst ourselves, so that when we sit down with the north, we can have a dialogue which the north can take more seriously, and which they will not dismiss as they dismissed our dialogue of the 70s and the early 80s because we were so disorganized. Long term, we have given ourselves 3 years in which to make some of those recommendations, but in the meantime, we are discussing some of these problems which are current problems like debt, and now at our next meeting we shall be discussing something called the Uruguay round. I won't go into that one. So I'm going around now doing this work, what I'm doing here. If I get an opportunity like here, this is what you've given me, I do this explanation of what we are trying to do in the South, to try to build a liberation movement of the South. Yes. We're trying to build an economic liberation movement of the South, like the national resistance itakuwa ni national southern revolutionary or liberation movement. That's what we really begin an activism in the South again for the purpose of liberating us. You know, this is 1988, 12 years, and this century will be out. And we still have children dying of malnutrition. This is stupid in this world today. How can we tolerate this? A human being has gone on the moon and walked on the moon, and we have children here dying of malaria, malnutrition in this world today. 1988. People can't read, can't write. Reading and writing becomes something like a big miracle. Miracle Gani. Reading and writing is a simple thing. And you have millions of Southerners, they can't read, they can't write. Abu, what is the illiteracy? What is the literacy rate here?
45 to 55%.
Post, huh?
65 for males and 45 for women.
65 for males and 45 for women. So it becomes about 50 or 55%. 1988? This is intolerable. Absolutely intolerable. Some of these things, of course, you can't always blame the North. Some you can't blame the North. Like illiteracy, I don't think illiteracy I could blame the North. Because I think we could do a bit better than we are doing now. There are southern countries which have the wealth, sufficient resources to wipe out illiteracy, and they're not doing it. Bure too. When we took over in Tanzania, illiteracy was 85%. The country was 85% illiterate. 85% illiterate when we took over 26 years ago. Now we are 90% literate. And our per capita income, $280. $280, because it's the way you want to use your resources. It's a choice. It's a choice how you want to use your resources. And there are countries now there are countries in the south, 500 per capita, 600 per capita, 1,000 per capita, more than 1,000 per capita, and the illiterate. That we can't blame the North for that. That we have simply to blame ourselves. And one of the functions of the South would be how to criticize ourselves, where we went wrong. What kind of development are we thinking of? How can we say we are developing? How can you say we are developing when you have illiterate population? Developing Ghana here. So, that's what I've been traveling doing, explaining this, seeking for support from the regimes, governments, and the people. Seeking support now, not for the purpose of establishing the commission, because the commission has been established. Seeking support for first of all, for the idea. The idea of Southern solidarity. Seeking that support. This is really my function here, is to seek that. We have to work together. Churchill, during the war, this war I was talking about, he said, we must hang together. I'm seeking for the support for the idea of solidarity, and whatever recommendations we make, if they look good, we want that these recommendations we make should be supported. Second, of course, I'm looking for the support of the Commission for the temporary work, because hatuna mapesa, we have no money, and the other commissions usually have a rich person underwriting them. The Brand Commission had, I think, Norway, I'm told Norway and Italy underwrote the Brand Commission. The South Commission has no underwriter. So I go around asking these poor people to give me some money. So I have asked your president for some money to support the work of the commission, because I can't do this work without money. So I've got to get money. And I've told leaders, if I've gone round, I don't want too much money from one country, because I want this commission supported by the South, not by one country in the South. And so when one president asked me, how much money do you want? I said, Mr. President, if you give me $1 million, I will not take it. Because that will be too much from one country. So far the biggest pledge I got was from India, $500,000, and they paid $400,000. And all the highest I've received so far is $400,000. No more than that. And so I've told your president, please, may I have some money, please? And he has promised me some money, so fine. So now that's my hat, one hat. The other hat, I won't talk very much about the other hat.
The next time we see Nyerere, he will be talking in his capacity as chairman of Chama cha Mapinduzi. Please subscribe to OwanaPaedia, your one-stop center for the history of this country, and you will not be disappointed.